guys, so a model home can be absolutely stunning when you walk through the door, but what happens when you have that first warranty claim or you do that inspection and the home is not as well built as you thought? In today's video, I am gonna go over the worst and best builders that my clients have had the most luck with as far as getting a well-built home that is gonna last many, many years. Hey guys, I'm Natasha Tessier. I was born and raised here. I help people like you every single day relocate to the great city of Houston and specifically the suburbs. So we're gonna go through 3 different tiers. We've got our top tier builders, which are gonna be more semi-custom, very good quality. Then we're gonna have the mid-tier, which is a little bit of a step below, but still great quality. And then the low range, which can be great for certain circumstances, whether that's an investment or maybe it's first-time home buyer or just, maybe you're going to turn it into a rental in 5 years, whatever that may be. There is a time and a place for all different tiers of builders, and we're going to go through them today, so listen up. Okay, so the things that I looked at is building and consistency as far as building and putting out a good product. What happens when my clients do a warranty claim and, how responsive they are. Neighborhood drainage and layout, who that developer is actually quite important. I've talked about that in previous videos. And then also your resale strength. I wouldn't sell a house a year later after you build, but 5 to 10 years later, what is the resale gonna look like? Okay, so first let's start off with the top tier, and I'm gonna start with Perry. I have loved Perry Homes for a very long time. My clients are very happy in Perry Homes. They build a really good product. They work well with the client. They're very customer friendly. For example, some of these builders are having our closings an hour and a half or 2 hours away from the house unless we pay for a mobile notary. Perry is closing in the model homes where you purchase. So it's very, very simple. We walk through the home, we go over to the model home, we sign paperwork, they pay somebody to drive it back, and then you get the keys. Very customer friendly. One of the biggest selling points for Perry is going to be the 2-year warranty that they have. They're one of the only builders that has a 2-year warranty. So for 2 years, it's basically bumper to bumper. They're gonna fix everything, and people love their warranty. They have been in business since 1967 and have a reputation for building just a consistent, well-built product. And they're frequently praised online. You can see for the most part, they're frequently praised for their workmanship and attention to detail and building a clean home. Now, I'm gonna interrupt this and say this right now. It doesn't matter what builder you choose. If your supervisor on the job is not good, you're not gonna have a well-built home. I have been into some of the lowest end building and had 0 wrong with that home on inspections or 1 item. I've been into the highest end building and had 50 things wrong. So it really depends on your supervisor and how they are running the job. You want to meet the supervisor and ask them, how often do you walk? How often do I get a report of what's going on as it's being built? Or if it's already built, obviously we're gonna run our own inspections and figure out how well built the house is. Let's talk about where Perry builds. They're often out in Montgomery County, in a lot of the master plan communities, Wood Forest, your Johnson developments, Audubon, Preston, all the major developments, you're gonna find Perry in there. They're also known for high ceilings, large windows. Their 1-stories have pretty good ceiling height, so that people love that as well because it doesn't feel so small. Even though it might be 2,000 square foot home, it feels a lot bigger. Let's talk about the energy efficiency with Perry. They have low E double pane windows, obviously the radiant barrier, which a lot of people like, high SEER HVAC, just your good standard build process. They use a post-tension slab, which most of our builders do. They do have a wide range of structural finishes, flooring, countertops, all those things. Some people build that from scratch, and a lot of people just go in with what the designer's already selected on an inventory and get a better deal that way. But they do have a large range at the design center of what you can put in your home, which people love. There's a lot of flexibility there. One thing as far as adding different upgrades to your home is you want to be careful at that design center. Again, I've said this before, they can tell you we're giving you $40,000 at the design center. That can be spent just on flooring. You really want to be careful. Hire an agent to go with you and to talk you through what options are good to upgrade on and what options are not. So for example, I'm not gonna put a lot of money into my faucets and changing the color of them. I got a quote from one of the builders, it was $15,000 to change the color. from silver to black or whatever it was. I'm not gonna spend that on faucets. So very easy to replace. So just make sure you go with somebody who knows where to put your money and where not to put your money, because with all builders, the upgrades can add up very, very quickly. In conclusion, with Perry, if you're looking for a good, strong, consistent build, open concept, high ceilings, a company that values strong warranty coverage, then Perry may be your best fit. Moving on to the next high tier is going to be Highland Homes. I have somebody building a Highland home right now in Bridgeland. They have some semi-custom options where you can add a bathroom or add a media room. People love the designs of Highland. I have some very, very happy buyers that built in the Woodlands 5 years ago, thought their warranty was amazing. They showed up, they redid everything that they needed to do, very responsive, and people have been very happy with that builder. They consistently have high reviews and high rankings. People always praise them for their communication and feedback. Like I said, my clients have had the same experience, and they do like the semi-custom flexibility. So they have a really cool interactive thing on their website where you can go in, add a bathroom, take this away, all the different things. It's pretty cool to check them out. So I do like them if you want to have a little bit more flexibility in your build process. And the other thing that's kind of cool about Highland Home is they are employee owned. So the sales reps, they have kind of same with my brokerage, it's employee owned. So people like that they're vested in their own company. So that's kind of a cool thing to know about Highland Homes. So they tend to build in the higher end neighborhoods. You've got them in Wood Forest, Bridgeland, Highland, Preston. Some of the higher end neighborhoods, they tend to build on larger lots, although I do have some that move into townhouses built by Highland, so they kind of go across the board, but they tend to be in the well-developed master plan communities on the larger lots, and people love that. Okay, and then as far as the building quality, they too use post-tension. The numbers show that they have less items on their inspection reports as far as repairs. Again, it's going to depend on the supervisor and the neighborhood, but generally speaking, they seem to come back a little bit cleaner than some of their competition. They too have the low E windows, the high HVAC, AC systems, all that good stuff. And like I said, the one thing people love about them is the flexibility with the layout of the home and the flexibility with being able to make changes structurally. That's not something that you can usually get with one of the builders. And they aren't as high volume. They do build fewer homes than like Perry, Lennar, DR Horton. They're not as big of a builder, but I think they have a lot of quality and a lot of customization. It takes them a little bit longer due to that, but not much, maybe like a month. But I think they're not as big of a production company. So in conclusion, with Highland Homes, if you want something a little bit more semi-custom, a little bit more personalized to you, then Highland might be the builder for you. Again, it's going to be, in some of our nicer master plan communities, you're gonna find Highland all over Northwest Houston. Great builder. I've had a lot of great feedback from my clients that have built with them. Okay, so the next one is going to be Westin, and they are known for the entryway with the sweeping second story stairs with the high windows. Everybody loves that. For resale, people love it. So oftentimes I've heard that the resale on Westin is better because you have a sweeping front staircase that you walk in, and it's kind of a wow factor, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so the other thing that Westin has is the detailed millwork that people love, the iron on the staircase people love, and usually have solid surfaces in the main areas. They don't do carpet in there, so that's not usually an upgrade with them. It's kind of standard. So you've got hard material, so it could be tile, LVP, hardwood floors, depending on what is selected. The iron staircase is of course absolutely stunning, and then people brag about their millwork and just their overall aesthetics of the design. They too are in all of the master plan communities. There are a few that they're not in, but they are in Bridgeland. I probably sell the most Westin in Woodland Hills. They built a great product. I think I'm selling my 5th this year in there. People love it. I love the sales rep out there. She's fantastic to work with. The guys supervising it have been great and very easy to work with. They have the warranty department that meets with you through your final walkthrough to tell you how to do a warranty claim. Very, very detail oriented. People have been loving the Westin They are all over though. They're gonna be over in Highland, Bridgeland, you know, all over the community. You can look at their map. They're all in different suburbs of Northwest Houston. So again, they're gonna do your low E windows, your post tension, your 16 SEER HVAC. That's something you wanna look at. So why are the other houses cheaper? Well, they're getting cheaper HVAC units. You know, some of the very low end will do like a damper system on their HVAC, different things, but all these are gonna have, you know, high SEER, post-tension slabs, low E, you know, double pane windows. All those things are pretty standard in these builds. So, and they too have a great selection at the design center. It is absolutely gorgeous. So many different options, but you need to be careful that you're not overdoing it and over upgrading your home for resale. Again, it's helpful to have an agent with you. I'm going to interrupt and say, please fill out our form below. I'd love to get to know you, how we can help you. And they have different things where you can add media rooms, add different things. You know, it'll have a plan and it'll say, okay, it's this much to add the media room or an extended back porch. A lot of people like a bigger back porch because it doesn't come with much. Every model's a little bit different, but same kind of semi-customization. Lots of options at the design center. Beautiful. I just did a house with all brass light fixtures and faucets. It was absolutely stunning. So they do have a lot of really gorgeous finishes at the Westin Design Center. So in conclusion with Westin, if you're looking for something with aesthetics when you walk in that's like crowd pleaser, it might be the Westin. That swooping staircase is hard to beat with the second story windows. It's very, very gorgeous design. So if aesthetics is important to you, they might be the builder that you want to check out. They do have a more modern exterior and then more traditional. So they have kind of across the board on that as well. The last one I'm going to mention in the high tier, and they probably, well, actually there's two more. It's going to be Toll Brothers and Drees. And I would say they're kind of maybe the very top of the top tier. Drees in particular will let you do a lot to the home. They're gonna let you move walls. They're gonna let you do a lot of customization. So if you're building your forever home, they are more expensive, but they have the most amazing finishes and they let you do a lot of customization. For me, for semi-custom, they have been the ones that help my clients and allow my clients to customize the most. And then behind that is Toll Brothers. They too build a very, very high-end product. I just put one under contract in Woodhaven, which is a brand new neighborhood in Magnolia. Gonna start opening October, November. And I also did one out in Fulshire, and both products very stunning with Toll Brothers and Drees. Very high-end finishes and very luxurious. So also two that I would not sleep on. They just cost more. So if you're looking for something forever home and you want it to be spectacular and you want to customize it every which way, I would do Drees or Toll Brothers. Next, we're gonna move on to mid-tier. And I'm gonna start with David Weekley, although they have two different products. So some of their products I would say is in the top tier and some mid-tier. So kind of depends on the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods you're gonna go in and they're gonna say you have to pick from one of these packages on the wall and that's what you get. You don't get to change things out. But they also have in other David Weekley model homes where you can pick everything start to finish. I just built one in Bridgeland. We went to the design center. We picked everything and it is stunning. It was for a couple moving here. We did a one-story. They were older and just wanting this gorgeous one-story. It is absolutely stunning. I just did the walkthrough with them, but it's a totally different product than some of the other neighborhoods where the price point is a little bit lower and you don't get the opportunity to customize. You'll go into this one room and they've got like 8 different or 12 different boards on the wall and it's like this flooring, this tile, this, you know. So that's a way more affordable way to get a David Weekley. They also, one of the biggest things with them is their spray foam. And I think they're moving to all spray foam starting this fall. So if spray foam is important to you in your attic, and the Texas attics can be very hot, they're pull down, they're, you know, up towards the roof, they do all spray foam. And so it is pretty spectacular when you can go in and have an energy efficient home. They also are one of the only builders that builds a 2x6 wall. So we built that on our custom home. 2x6, again, a thicker wall is gonna make it a lot more energy efficient. So think about that when you're building. They are well known for their energy efficiency with spray foam and 2x6 walls. They're one of the only builders that I know that's doing that right now. Okay, as far as structural changes, they do have things where you can add an extended patio, add a media room, all the little things on each plan, but they're not going to be moving walls and adding another bathroom. That's not an option already on the plan. So semi-customizable. They do, again, have a huge design center with great things. It just depends on the product and the neighborhood that you're in, so you need to check that out. And David Weekley is going to be in all those neighborhoods. They are in Audubon, they are in Creston, they are in Colton. They're all over the place. They are very well known in our area and build a great product. I have a lot of happy clients with David Weekley. So really cool floor plans. People love them. Definitely worth checking out. They do use the radiant barrier decking. They do use post tension. They do use, the low E grade, blah, 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 but they also use the radiant barrier. So if that's important to you in your attic, that's part of the energy efficiency that we are talking about with the spray foam. So again, this is all going to be based on your supervisor and who is building this home. If you are building from start to finish, you probably want to get a pre-drywall inspection and then a final inspection. Most of my clients buy after the product is finished because they're getting a lot better bang for their buck, but you do want to have an outside inspection. So when you go to the model homes, they're going to say, oh, well, we do a 22-point inspection. You always need to get your outside inspector. They are going to find things that you will not. So I always recommend getting an outside inspector that can go through. There might be some nail shingles that need to be repaired. There might be, sometimes the blown window sills are already happening because they were installed incorrectly. Damper clamps on the fireplace. I mean, the list goes on and on. There are things missed. So you are going to want an outside inspection. Even with the home warranty, most people do it before closing, but if you can't, you have a 1-year warranty. They like to live in the home first before they do the inspection, so they can kind of feel the different things that are and aren't working. Other people like to have it all done prior to. Some people like to do 2. So it just depends on the buyer, but definitely get an inspection no matter what. What is David Weekley for? To sum it up, David Weekley is going to be for your energy efficient buyer that wants a house that is super energy efficient and also has good quality, good reputation, just dependent on the neighborhood as to whether or not you have flexibility when it comes to selection. So keep that in mind. Some neighborhoods super flexible, some are packages that you have to choose from. Next is going to be Coventry. I have done a few Coventry here and there, but not as popular of a builder for me anyway. They do boast on their energy efficiency, and again, it's going to be superintendent specific. I've had one kind of bad experience and then several good experiences, so it just depends on who your superintendent is. Mid price range, I'd say $450 to $700. Kind of just depends. They're in a lot of the retirement communities and kind of sporadic throughout. I don't see them as much as I see the other builders. They do use post-tension slab and the HVAC and all the things, so they are a good builder. I just don't run into them as much. I don't think that they build as much. I have done a couple Coventry resale and they've sold really well, so I do think they build a good product, just not quite as popular amongst my clients. Our next mid-range is going to be Chesmar. Very popular build for me. People are buying them left and right, specifically right now because they had huge price drops. I don't think they'll last forever. I have been saying this. They're talking about in September, they're going to do a rate drop, and if they keep doing the 3 and 4 rate drops coming, all these great deals are going to go away. These builders are going to start increasing pricing, especially come January. So if you're looking for a good deal, I would do it now. I would not wait. If you've been waiting, this is a great time. The market, we are getting some of the best deals I've seen in many, many years. So Chesmar's a newer builder. Some of these have been around 70s and 80s. They started in 2005, but they're in San Antonio, Austin, Houston, all over the place, even up in Dallas. They are known for your functional, family-friendly floor plans. I've sold several in Jubilee, and I followed up with my clients that built in there, and they absolutely love it. They said the warranty department has been amazing with following up. They are very family friendly. For example, when we went to close, they had done the yard art where they said, congratulations to this family in the yard. Just a very sweet, family friendly builder. I really have enjoyed working with them and their sales reps. The one thing that makes them stand out to the others, first, they're more affordable, so $300 to $600 range. But second is that you pick out everything up front before you do the contract, so there's no surprises, and a lot of people like that. So if you're gonna build, up front what it is that they are going to charge you. So you don't have to go, okay, well, we have this to spend at the design center, but you don't know how quickly that's gonna go. They make you pick everything up front before, and you have like a pre-construction meeting, and it goes really, really smoothly because there's no surprises. So that's probably my biggest selling point for my Chesmar, and just getting a lot of bang for your buck on the house. Same thing, post-tension slab, low E windows, good 15 or 16 SEER unit depending on, you know, the floor plan, the layout, the community, but people have been very happy and they're getting a lot of bang for your buck. One thing I want to note is when you go to sell this home, if you have the most high-end builder, depending on the appraiser, they may or may not compare it to other high-end builders. So hopefully you get an appraiser that says, okay, we're not going to compare the low-end build to, you know, the high-end range, but you have to be careful with overbuilding your house because it's not going to appraise when you go to sell it. And I've said this before, you want to be in the house at least 5 years, unless you're going to turn around and rent it out before you try to sell and compete against new construction in there. You've got to give it time for those prices to raise up. I've had buyers buy in a new construction and try to sell a year later, and it's very, very difficult, almost impossible, unless you just got like the most amazing deal. So plan on being there a while to get the equity that you need to sell the home. So Chesmar is going to have very limited flexibility on any sort of customization. I think they do have a few extended patios and things like that, but it's not going to be as customizable as some of these others, which allows them to build a much more affordable product. So you can customize, just not quite as much. But my clients that built the Chesmar in Jubilee, oh my gosh, they have light wood cabinets, gorgeous flooring, gorgeous lighting. I mean, they did a good job picking it all out, and it is absolutely stunning. I have another one closing in there on the water. We got it for $397 and it appraised over $410. So my last buyer out in Woodland Hills, $33,500 in equity. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you want equity in a home, you need to call me and we need to get going, because right now people are getting anywhere from 10 to 50,000. The one Toll Brothers that I built out in Fulshire was 50,000. So you really need, also Clopton Farms, I had a huge, I think it was 40,000. I'm losing track, but everybody is getting equity right now because the prices are so low. So if you go buy a home for $395 and it's worth $420, according to an outside appraisal, that's a pretty good deal to start off with your home. So you have instant equity if you want to go sell. So in conclusion with Chesmar, if you're looking for a value build that's well built, they don't cut a lot of corners, but they do give you a lot of value, not as much choice and not as many options, but great bang for your buck. Chesmar might be the builder for you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the lower tier now. There's a time and a place for this, and I know a lot of my clients call and they say, well, I don't want this builder, they have a bad reputation. I will never buy this house, they have a bad reputation. I understand that, but hear me out. So there's a neighborhood with some of these builders in it. We're getting them for, I think we're closing tomorrow at $209 for like a 1,600 square foot house in a master plan community. That house is gonna have equity, and when I did the inspection, there was one item on it. So they have a good superintendent and they have one item not working out of the whole inspection report. Very rarely happens. So there is a time and a place. First-time home buyers, people retiring want to, not spend as much on their home. Maybe it's going to be a second home. Maybe you're going to live in it for a year and turn it into a rental. Whatever it may be, there's a time and a place for the low tier. So this isn't about, good versus bad. It's more about what trade-off are you willing to give. And I'm going to start with Lennar. So a lot of my clients are buying these Lennar. They're in the 250s. I think I just put my fourth one under contract, actually all in the same neighborhood, which is kind of cool because the sales rep is great, supervisor is great. So they are getting well-built homes for a great price, and they're buying on the low end of the neighborhood, so their value is going to go up over time because they have more expensive homes going in all around them every single day. Lennar is one of the largest home builders in the United States. You are not going to have any flexibility. You are going to get what you get, but they build it all in bulk, so that's how they bring down the price. So they order all the flooring and all the carpet and all the tile and everything in bulk, but they can bring the prices down because they're getting such good pricing on that. The other thing that they're offering, and all the builders really right now are offering incentives on building and using their lender. It just kind of depends on what that is. Some of my David Weekley have gotten 3-2-1 buy downs. I have one in Woodland Hills that got a 4.99. They're all doing that. Lennar is also doing the same. They all have incentives to build and work with their lender. So with Lennar, again, like I said, you're not going to get to change things, but it does work for the first-time home buyer, investor, retiree wanting to bring prices down. Maybe you're, single and you just want a house to start out in, but it's not your forever home. You can get a good bang for your buck and a good, well-built house for a good price that will go up in value over time. And they are in a lot of the good communities. Like I said, Grand Prairie is one that I sell the most in. That's going to be a great community out in Hockley. Brand new schools, brand new high school, junior high, elementary, all going in the next 2 or 3 years. Major growth out there in Hockley. We're going to talk about that in the next video. But yes, you are going to find a lot of good bang for your buck at Lennar out there. And they're not as well known in some of the higher end neighborhoods, but they are around, and you can look at their map on their website and check out where they're building here. So, and they do use post-tension slabs, but this is where they might cut on the HVAC or little things to make it more affordable. So those are just things that you have to think about. Is the trade-off worth it not to have a high-end AC unit or whatever that may be? They're still going to function. They're still going to have the warranty, all the things, but it's not going to be the highest end finishes. The other thing is you really don't get, like I said, any changes in the finishes. It is what it is. It's very pre-selected and there's just not a lot of options, but that's how it keeps everything so affordable. So again, if you're looking for a new home in a nice community, very affordable, under $2,000 a month payment with HOA taxes and a nice smaller home, Lennar might be the option for you. It's an affordable way to get into our master plan communities. The next one I'm going to talk about is DR Horton. I used to sell a lot of DR Horton, not as much anymore, but they are still out there and people do like them. I've heard a lot of problems with clients that have built with them as far as, drainage in one neighborhood. And one of my AC guys lives in a DR Horton and he said he stays very busy in the neighborhood with all their AC units because they didn't necessarily put in the highest end. But again, if you're looking for affordability and an easy way to get into a home in a nice neighborhood, they are all around and they can be very, very nice. Fairwater builds a lot of DR Horton. It's right by Lake Creek High School. You've got great schools. You've got a splash pad, pickleball court in a great area. It's a trade-off. You're not going to have the most high-end home, but you're going to be in a good school district with a decently built home and a lot of great neighbors. So it just depends on what is most important to you. The one thing that DR Horton does is they give you a lot of square footage for the dollar. So if you maybe have a large family and you're just want a new construction and you need a lot of space, DR Horton might be the builder for you. They give you a lot of square footage, again, for the price. So, and then again, they're gonna use post-tension slabs, but when it comes to all the mechanical finishes, there probably will be some corners cut, maybe not quite as energy efficient or whatever that may look like, but you still, again, get a nice new home, new roof, new HVAC, all the things. Just make sure you're getting your inspections and asking for all your repairs so that you know that you're getting a decently built home without any major problem. They build in a lot of their own neighborhoods, or they'll partner up with just 2 builders. They're not necessarily in all the large master plan communities, although they are in some. Again, just larger homes for less money. If that's important to you, DR Horton might be your builder. So let's talk about a buyer checklist and things that you need to do to be ready. So if you're building, you want to get a pre-drywall inspection and a final inspection. Make sure that you're staying on top of that builder. I have inspectors I can recommend to you. I cannot choose your inspector, but I can give you recommendations. One thing with drainage. Okay, so here's the rule with the drainage with new construction. Standing water after 48 hours, they are required to take care of. So if you go and it's pouring down rain, you got to give it 48 hours for it to clear out. If it doesn't, they're required to come back and put in French drains or rework the water. It's very important that you check out your drainage when you're closing. The other thing is your landscaping. They're not going to come back and replace landscaping because in their defense, if they sell you a house, you never water the lawn, they can't be responsible for the grass. So do not close on a house with dead landscaping unless it's in writing. And I've had to do this many times for people. Say, hey, we're not closing tomorrow until that grass is replaced. So be strict on your landscaping and your drainage. You do want to make sure you have the warranty contact, that you register all your appliances. Again, we will go through all this. I will walk you through it. You're going to have an initial walkthrough where it's a blue tape walkthrough. and then you're gonna have a final walkthrough. You're gonna have inspections. They're gonna print the inspection report and go through everything that has or has not been done and why. Yesterday I did one with a huge Perry that I'm building in North Grove. Absolutely gorgeous home. But we had to go through the whole thing together because the inspector, they had fixed everything on the inspection list but 2 items. One was a gasket under the sink that is supposed to be to code if it's not wood back on the back of the underneath the sink. So if it's metal and it can cut you, it's required to have a gasket. This was wood. That was fine. The other thing that the inspector recommended but was not necessarily to code, they have these little tents that you can put up. They zip in the top of your attic to keep heat out, and the inspector recommended that, but it's not something that the builder's required to put in. But they fixed everything else on our inspection list. So we go in, we do our outside inspection. There was a lot. We walked through it. Everything was repaired, fixed, brick, grout, making sure everything was sealed correctly, all the things before we closed. And then he went over why they wouldn't fix those 2 things. So you will have your inspection, your initial walkthrough, your final walkthrough. You make sure that you're attending all those and getting as much information as you can. That is very, very important. So as you can see, Houston's new construction is absolutely booming right now, but not all builders, not all neighborhoods are created equal. As I hope this video helped you see, there are so many pros and cons to all the different builders and different neighborhoods. It is important that you find somebody who has your back. I'm getting this nickname of Natasha the Negotiator because I'm getting such good deals with such great equity for my clients. So if you need my help, I would love to help you. Please fill out the form below. Click on the QR code. Happy to help you in any way that I can, and I hope you have a blessed day.